Hey guys, Justin here. No quick notes today, but I would like to thank my friends again at No Toad Racing League for sponsoring this video. No Toad Racing League is still open for new drivers to join. They run series almost every night of the week for series like Arca, Xfinity, Next Gen, and 87 Legends, along with more fun racing with lots of variety. And the races are usually at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, which I think is a perfect time slot. And their premiere series is even broadcasted on YouTube. This is their 20th anniversary. That's right, they are more established than iRacing itself, as they got their start in the NASCAR racing series from Papayas in 2002. So you can look them up on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or more, and you can join their Discord for more information. Thanks again to No Toad Racing for sponsoring this video. There you go, screw G-Force. We got our own lap. Thank you. Alright, let's take a look at that. So, we're going to be doing the same thing that we do on run-ups. So we let off early into the corner, and then my goal is to be on the throttle in some way by this purple sign, the first purple sign. Because I really want to get that straight exit to build up as much momentum as possible, so kind of turning down the track starting right here. So we kind of get on the throttle, we get it to full pretty quickly, and you see we start kind of driving down a lane or two, and we actually don't go very far down the track, but because the car is loose, we're able to keep it straight, and that gives us a pretty good run up. So definitely for the hot lap, you're going to want to go all the way down. I usually go down for the race too. It's just you get a couple hundredths over staying up by the wall. Don't go down to the apron though, that will screw you up. Coming into turn one, you'll lose a lot of momentum. So we drive straight up to the wall here, and then almost right when I get to the wall is when I start turning off the wall. So you see just a little bit past the Rackley sign. So the first thing I do is I make my angle down the hill, and then I'm going to decrease my throttle to half. So let's see here. So we decrease our throttle to half. The reason we do this is because if we were still full throttling right now, our rears would start to disengage and cause us to not have as much mechanical grip going into the corner. So by going to half throttle, we're still keeping our momentum while also not sliding our tires at all. So we very quickly put that half throttle into a brake drag when we're about halfway down the track. You see about halfway between the wall and the yellow line. That's when we move our half throttle into a brake. And we brake drag at our about 25% here. And then we want to stick it to that yellow line. So I'm holding that brake all the way to the yellow line here. And then once it sticks on the yellow line, I pick up the throttle to about half. I start a little bit less than that because it was I got there a little early. But if you're timing this correctly, you go straight from the brake to half throttle, and you kind of keep it along that yellow line using that half throttle. Then pretty darn quickly I raise it to 3/4, and then I pretty much go full throttle once the car starts sliding off the yellow. So let's take a look at that all in one fluid motion. It's pretty complicated, not gonna lie. So half throttle to drag brake, drag brake, drag brake, drag brake to quarter throttle to half throttle so basically a smooth throttle up from quarter all the way to full. And that's really all you need in 1 and 2. You want to be full throttle just about, it's a little earlier than you think, honestly, because it's going to get a little loose. So you see we don't even see the exit of the corner yet, and we're already full throttle. So experiment with how early you can get on the throttle here, because it might be a little earlier than you think. All right. So next we are going to go into turn 3 and 4 here. We carry a good amount of speed because of how early we got on the throttle. And so here I actually turn off the wall slightly before letting off the gas. And then once I've established this slight angle, so you see if I was going straight it'd be like this, but now I'm establishing kind of a bit of a angle down the hill already. And so we do the same thing. We go to half throttle and then half throttle until we get about halfway in between the yellow and the wall. So same thing for 1, 2, and 3, and 4. It might feel a little differently, but the mechanics are kind of the same. We do a little bit less brake than in 1 and 2. And then the thing about 3 and 4 is that once we pick up the throttle, it's going to get loose and it's going to want to slide up the track. So I get full throttle very early here because you're able to kind of use the right rear to whip it along the yellow line. So I'm just fighting the loose condition here. And we slide up and we keep it off the wall. So as opposed to 1 and 2 where you wait a little longer on the yellow line, once you reach that yellow line, you pretty much want to almost pick up that throttle right as you reach the yellow line. Maybe just wait just a tiny bit. So you see yellow. Okay, I waited about a beat, like a music beat, before picking up the throttle. The real marker of when you want to pick up the throttle, I would say definitely right after the first purple sign and before the second purple sign is when you want to pick up the throttle. And you'll see that I hit some bumps and get a little squirrely, but it's able to use its loose condition to get itself off the corner. And then the final thing is we definitely take that apron coming to start finish line because we don't care about our momentum into 1. We just want to shortcut what we can. All right, perfect. So it's a 30.45. Seems like some of you guys are already pretty close to that. So hopefully there's just one more little thing you can change and get really close to here. All right, let's check out the long run. All right, so we just finished the race. We got third. If this was a 34 lap race, I would have gotten second, but we'll watch the end there. There's not a ton to talk about. I want to show you guys a couple lines here. First off, I want to show off this amazing paint scheme that was provided to me by the No Toad Racing League. So we see here in action. Vroom. Very good. Very good looking car. And as you can see, I had Larry on my tail for about 34.75 laps. And we'll see how that ended. So we'll go off of the lap 1 start here. So you might be able to start in first gear if you're on the pole, but I started in second. It was just fine. So as you can see, I'm going for this arc line in 1 and 2, and I want to show you what it looks like on the inside. We'll skip ahead to lap 3 or so. This is how I'm going to be saving here. I'll turn down the mic a little more. So I try to do a lot of braking on entry to get it to the yellow line without moving my steering wheel too much. So a big way to hurt your tire. So there's 2 phases here. There's the phase where I'm at partial throttle and the phase where I'm relatively hard on the brake, so about 25%. So using that partial throttle means that we keep our rears engaged with the track, which means that we're not going to be sliding into the corner because that would be hurting all 4 tires because we would just be losing grip entirely. If you just full throttle down this hill to this point, then it's going to be harder for your car to stay engaged in the track because we want rotation, but we want to still stay engaged with the track. So now what we do is we get on the brake from the high lane and we brake all the way down to the yellow line, and there's a little grip strip here. So you see this seam here? Between the seam and the yellow line, if you get your left sides in that area, you're going to have extra grip. That's just kind of how the track works right now, both corners, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So we get our lefts down into here, and we stay down here on exit as long as possible. It even gets a little loose, which is fine. And you see here in 3 and 4 as well, we're going to take a bit of a shallower entry. So 3 tolerates a bit of a shallower entry than 1 and 2 does. And then I'll show you some examples of the other way later. But you see here that I'm kind of getting to the yellow really early and getting in that little grip strip and just staying on the bottom for as long as possible. And so you see here, we're not turning our wheel that much considering how much the car is rotating along the bottom. So you see here, this is all 16 to 1. And try not to hit the apron. I think I barely tapped the apron here, which caused me to get the line a little bit wrong. But you really want to just hook that apron without touching it. It's a lot easier said than done, of course. But Here we go, hard braking into one, get down to the yellow, and then just ride it along that grip strip on the bottom until it's about time to exit the corner. You don't want to slide up too early. Because there's that grip down here, sliding up too early is not going to do too much for you. So you might as well just keep it down there and let it slide up when you're exiting the corner fairly late. Let's see here again. Get down in that grip strip. Just wait on it. And you see, it slides up a little early here, but we're fine. I want to skip ahead. We'll see what like a lap 28 looks like. Alright. And you see it's the same thing. We're turning a little bit more. We burned off the right front a tiny bit. We're still fairly even. We finished at 75-80. And that's mainly because of all the defending I had to do caused me to overdrive a little bit. As you can see, Larry behind me has been stalking me the entire race. And he's been getting a good advertisement for the No Toad Racing League. So maybe he'll show up after staring at this for 35 laps. So you see here, he's just trying to make anything happen. And we'll fast forward ahead here. And it seems like I have it in the bag. But coming to the white flag, he gets a good run. And he just strings together a really good corner here. And I want to show you guys this line. And I might showcase you a little bit earlier too, if you guys are interested. But he just gets a really good run off the corner. I actually ran like an identical 1 and 2. And he's just able to send it really far on the bottom here. Really gets that grip strip, does really well on it. Yeah, that's like perfect. You can't ask for more from him there. Meanwhile, I make a slight mistake, and I really should be holding him tighter here, but you see, I want to be half a lane down at this point, and I'm just not, and I can't get back. I got back on the throttle, but I just don't have the run that I should have, and he's gonna take the position on the final moment and relegate us to third. But more importantly than that, what I want to show you is how Larry saved his tires. He ran a different line in 1 and 2 than me, and this is very similar to the line that we showcased in the nighttime. And I wasn't able to make this work in the daytime, but Larry being Larry, he's able to make it work here. Shallow entry, get on the throttle and get the car. You can see his car is extremely loose this corner. You see my car is super stable here, which shows a fairly neutral balance, which having a neutral balance is fine, but that relies on you never overdriving the car on the right front, which I did a few times, which is what caused my wear imbalance. And meanwhile, Larry, he's putting the car on the right rear, and he's doing this by doing this line that I might experiment with later, but it was very difficult for me to get to work. He dives it deep on the bottom and then gets on the throttle early, and that gets the car loose. And he runs that way pretty much every lap. So you see here, he arcs it a little more, but he still dives it down pretty late. And he still gets it on the right rear coming up the corner. So while I'm getting kind of tight off the corner, he's still fighting a slight loose condition. And that's what keeps his tires better than mine. Now this, you may want to experiment with this. I'm not going to promise you that it's easy because there was only one person in the race that was doing this, and that was Larry. And yes, Derek ran away with the race, but I was holding up Larry for the entire race, and he ended on better tires. I think it would have been close. I think Derek showed what you can do with the kind of the arcing line and maximizing that, and Larry showed an alternate line that I think can be optimized to be better than the arcing line. So you see here, he enters really shallow, even on the late run, gets the car rotated early, and then rides the throttle loose off the corner and lets the car slide up to the wall. And what that is doing is putting the car on the right rear so that the right rear is getting the majority of the load and keeps the right front cool enough for him to drive a much stronger 3 and 4. 3 and 4 rides the right front a lot more, even with this line. You see, he's still getting it loose, which is actually pretty insane. So if you keep your tire wear even, it's easier to stay loose. So pretty much if you overdrive the car once or twice, it's going to make it harder for you to run this line for the rest of the race. So keep that in mind when you're running your race. You want to keep track of where you're putting the load on your tires, and definitely making sure to keep them as even as possible and even kind of putting it on the right rear. But other than that, a nice little podium and a pretty strong strength of field for the No Toad Racing League car. Glad to get them a decent finish. finished better than our car number, which is good. Good qualifying effort, and Derek is just a bit on another level, and that's why they're pros. They're pros for a reason. It's kind of fun that you guys kind of get to see what the differences are here in real time. But other than that, thank you all for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you all on the track.